everyone. Today I'm joined by the awesome group Hooverphonic from Belgium.
Hey,
Hello.
hello.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, good. We're in our headquarters studio, and we were rehearsing before this interview, and now we're doing an interview.
That's very nice. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
It's our pleasure.
Let's start by rewinding a bit, because it's been a crazy year for everyone. Eurovision got cancelled. The world went into lockdown. What has the past year been like for you guys? And when did you start working on the new music for Rotterdam?
It was definitely a very weird year, first of all, normally we're on the road constantly, and now we've been at home for like more than a year already. I think our last gig we played was on the 7th of March last year, and then since then we didn't play. Well, we played a couple of really small things, but really tiny things. So that of course changed a lot. Fact that a lot of people in our surroundings, in our environment, have problems, because of the lockdown. We're lucky, we can cope with it financially because we're doing this for a long time, and we built a career. But we see there's a lot of there's a lot of problem who are not that lucky.
Yeah.
So that was actually the first worry we had when we heard that Eurovision got canceled, because we knew that we would go anyway. So for us, it was we had to wait another year. But there's also other participants who weren't that lucky. Some countries had a new kind of
participants.
Contest. So in some countries it's the same, but in other, like in Norway, it isn't. It's so it's for us. It was a weird year, also because, to be honest, I'm a big control freak, and at some point I had to kind of realize that I wasn't in control, and that was kind of tough. I really had at some point I stopped working, because Eurovision was actually good because we had to write a new song, so it kept us busy. So we were writing, and the first lockdown was actually writing, and then at some point you wrote I wrote 30 songs or something, and then suddenly you say well, can't keep on writing, let's try to do nothing. But when you do nothing, that's when you feel bad, and then that's when you kind of start having bad thoughts and dark thoughts. So then luckily we started writing in September again, and I got better, and then we worked on the new album, and so in the end Eurovision for us was really good to have Eurovision, because it's something we can look forward to. And something to work on and
to work towards. And we have the album that's coming out, and so hopefully some concerts. So we are also working towards that, but we don't know how it's going to end. But there's always that
perspective,
at least. So we are very
So we try to kind of stay positive. But I have to say, at some point it was kind of difficult, but now from the other end, everything negative can have the positive thing is that I learned to let things go, which actually is not bad. It's actually a good thing. So I'm a bit more chilled.
So at least something
a little bit more, not a lot, but a little bit more chill.
So you got something good out of this year, at least. And some more chill.
Well, I think one of our biggest kind of talents is that we always in the past as well, if something negative happened, we always try to turn it into something positive. We try to spin it into something positive. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we always have the intention to try, at least. And I think being in a band also is also like being in a sort of roller coaster ride. We were doing this for 25 years. We're still not sick. We're still okay. We're for 25 years in a roller coaster ride, but sometimes it's really slow, and then suddenly you kind of get catapulted and then go down again. And so
that's life.
It is live, actually. Yeah.
But I heard that this wasn't the first time VRT asked you to participate in Eurovision.
True.
So I'm wondering, Has it always been like a dream of yours to participate? And you were waiting for the right song, if I can say it like that.
Yeah.
What is the right song for you?
No, the thing is, I always loved the festival, since I was a kid. I followed the festival. But there's a right time and a right place for everything in life. And what is the right song? I think, to have a good song, you need to write a lot of songs, and you need to have like the choice to choose from all these songs, and most of the time when VRT is like picking a candidate, they just like look for one song, one candidate, and it's always like, I told them, I said, I need time. If I'm going to do this, I want time to kind of work on it. And I don't want the pressure that I have to perform. I'm going to first write a song, and then if I have a song, then I'll give you a call and say, like, you know what, we have a song. In the end, we had 3 songs, or maybe even more. But, I don't want to be ending in a situation where you said yes and you don't have the song, That's kind of like, so. And then people will ask me, like, so you think the wrong place is the song? Well, for us, it's the song. But of course, that is something very subjective. It's not something that. But also, one of the things that was really important for us was that we could go as Hooverphonic. So we just wanted to kind of release another Hooverphonic single, basically. We didn't want to do something special for Eurovision. No, we wanted to write a really good Hooverphonic single and then go to Eurovision with it. Yeah. And it's a bit like, like I think in the past, a lot of people who won, like Salvador Sobral, it was the same, he just did a Salvador Sobral song and it was really beautiful and he did a very good performance and it won. Yeah. So sometimes I think people kind of like people who are real or genuine,
So it's your sound.
Yeah.
That's actually my next question, because you guys have been around since mid-90s and you have fans also outside of the Belgian border. But a participation in Eurovision actually brings potential viewers from all over the world. And speaking for myself as a Norwegian, fellow Norwegians might not know you. So how would you describe your sound and music to those who don't know you as a band already?
I think, we try not to make it too complicated. We just make alternative pop music. Yeah. It's like, it's alternative pop music. Sometimes it's electronic, sometimes it's orchestral, but it's always connected to old film scores, like every song we make is like a kind of like, a soundtrack to a non-existing movie. That's kind of like what we do. And sometimes that's like, our first record was very electronic, very dark. That actually did not bad in Norway, in Scandinavia, and then we went a bit more orchestral, and then we became popular in Italy and Spain. So it's like, a lot of emotion. It's very cliche, but it is actually how it was, like very kind of like electronic and dark. And we were popular in Scandinavia in the underground scene. And then suddenly, we became a bit more emotional, and we went to the south, so. Both good places culinary, so it didn't matter for us. It's like, like you can eat very well in Scandinavia, but also in Spain and Italy, so it was good, like we were happy. But it's so we evolve all the time, and we're very eclectic. I think that's probably the most difficult about being a Hooverphonic fan. You never know what we're going to release. It's kind of like there's always something special about it. There's always something like edgy, but at the same time it can be really catchy and pop, and sometimes it can be very psychedelic, or sometimes it can be really electronic. Sometimes it's a 4 on the floor, and sometimes there is not even a beat. So it's like, and we're definitely in love with the 60s. That's definitely one of the songs we wrote for Eurovision. Actually, was called the 60s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it and actually it had a lyric something like the 80s were red, the 90s were silver, and the nillies were black because of the crash, like today's shades of gray is all we have. I want to go back to the 60s. That was like, we want to go back like to the golden 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's never going to happen, I guess. So, So then at that moment we decided to be retro futurists.
Because retro is always in somewhere.
Retro is always in, like the Norwegian song for this year is like, retro boys band, 90s boys band, like I hear a bit of Take That in there and stuff like that, but the 90s are back, so hey, very catchy.
80s and 90s are back. And another thing that's back, you Geike, you were with the band for many years and you were the voice of many of your most iconic songs. How does it feel to be working together again, and what has the response been within your fan base after your return?
How has it been so far to work together again? It's been really marvelous. I can say. I've been enjoying myself.
It's awesome.
Huge amount of all. Yeah, everything has been rediscovering a part of my voice actually that I haven't been using. Just really going into interpretation, which has been a bit less part of what I did with my own project, because I was more into trying to write, and so I've been really focused in this way now, and yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I have the feeling that in general the fans are quite happy.
The fans are they're ecstatic actually now. It's like there was like already for years there was a Facebook page like Geike back to Hooverphonic or something, or like what was it called? It was like those guys were really happy, But when we announced Return of Geike, we were expecting more pros and cons, but actually it was all pros, like everybody was really happy, and a lot of people that are, like you imagine, when I go to the grocery store, like I get like, people say to me, finally she's back. That's really good, like, so yeah. So, and then I'm at the fish department, buying shrimp or something. And then, can I have a selfie in the fish department?
Yeah.
I think, well, we could do it with the vegetables. At least there's color.
We have to talk about the song. The Wrong Place is very raw and emotional, but to me it also has like a dark undertone of humor.
Yeah, definitely.
Could you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the song?
Well, I wrote it right after the first lockdown, and it was actually one of the first songs I didn't write with Eurovision in mind. I was like, I met this girl, Charlotte Forêt. She's a young Belgian artist. She's like upcoming. She had like she had an indie hit here in Belgium, and I liked it, and her manager is good friends with us, and he asked me, like she would like to co-write. Are you okay with that? And I said like, yeah, sure, why not? Like I spent like 3 months all by myself in the studio. I said like, the lockdown is over, I can be in the studio together with somebody. Great. Yeah. So she came over, and then the first thing we said was like, oh, we're not gonna write a song about I missed you and you were so far away, and and it's all, let's do something a bit edgy, a bit about like an impossible relationship, a Tinder date gone wrong. We just for heaven's sake, let's try to not be cheesy and say like I miss you and I love you, and so that's how we started. That's how the whole idea started of like writing a song about a Tinder date that completely like went wrong. And then at lunch, we were talking about I think Johnny Cash was on the radio. We were both fans. We said like, oh, I love Johnny Cash. Oh, I love Johnny Cash too. I said like, oh, why don't we try to kind of use his name in the lyric as some kind of like challenge. And then at the point where she was really mad at him and thought like, what the hell are you doing here? We came up with the idea, don't you ever dare to wear my Johnny Cash t-shirt, So that's where that line came from.
That's where that's from.
So and then, like when we wrote the song, when it was finished, I immediately thought like, oh, this is a great song. It's very catchy. And Raymond heard it the first time. He said like, that's ours. I said like, I don't know, I don't know. I wrote it with her. Maybe she wants to kind of release it. I don't have a clue, we just wrote it. And then Geike heard it the first time, and she immediately said, like, I like that song, Like, so immediately we felt something. The record company heard it, and they were like, oh, that's really good. So we felt, our gut feeling said, like, it's a good song. And maybe not the most obvious one for Eurovision, but we don't want to go with the most obvious song anyway. You know, otherwise we wouldn't be Hooverphonic if we would do that. So we leave that to Norway this year. Oh, that is not nice of me. I said it's catchy. It's boys band, so it definitely is like a good Eurovision song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, Hooverphonic wins if it comes to Edge. You know, like yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
although Russia wins if it comes to Edge this year. You know.
Well, yeah, that's very edgy as well.
So yeah.
The music video is also kind of dark and haunting and also very edgy. Will you bring some of that mood to your performance in Rotterdam? And what do you want the audience to be left with after you've been on stage?
Well, you know, like we can't talk too much about the act because otherwise, you know, we'll end up like the guy in the video. But you know, like
that's true.
but it will be a Hooverphonic performance. You know, like. In the end, for us, it's all about the music, I guess. I guess that's how we can kind of like, that's what we can say about the act, you know.
Yeah.
It's about the performance, it's about Gekke, you know. She's the center. She's like, you know.
The queen.
She's she's the emotion, you know. She's really like, you know, like it's like, it's you know, she's very good at connecting to an audience, to a crowd, you know. And in the end, that's important. Salvador Sobral, you know, like the Portuguese candidate who won a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That performance was so magical. So and that's something you can't control. It's like, you know, it's like that night it needs to happen. And sometimes you have like, you know, the performers that like do 10 takes in a row exactly the same. Well, they're safe, but they don't tend to win, you know. It's the performers that every time do something different, you know, and every time try something new that mostly win. The only thing is it's a bit more dangerous because you need to do it on the right time, you know. So, but we like some danger, no?
Some excitement.
Excitement. We like to keep it kind of like.
It's good to have a nerve when you're performing and an edge. Yeah.
Well, you know, like, you know, it's something I learned learned from Kathy Dennis. I was lucky enough to write a couple of times with Kathy Dennis, you know, like a very good songwriter who she wrote Toxic of Britney Spears and I Can't Get You Out of My Head of Kylie. And one thing I learned is she had like an alternative background like us, you know. I listen actually, well, 90% of the time I'm listening to alternative music, you know, like she did actually as well, but she wrote for the Spice Girls, 90s girl band, and you know, like, and she wrote for S Club 7, another 90s girl band. So she kind of like and wasn't and she wrote really pop, but still a kind of like, you know, when she wrote something, I connected to it, and I was always amazed about it. I always thought, like, why do a lot of alternative people connect to Toxic? Because Britney Spears, you know, like, oops, I did it again. They didn't connect to that. No, they only connected to that one song. Yeah. And it's because you kind of she absorbed all this alternative music and then kind of had that really pop sense in a way of writing. And that makes it sort of crossover. Yeah. And it goes really wide, you know. When you can do that, it's like Madonna did it only once with Frozen, you know, when she kind of like that album, Ray of Light, she kind of like was right in the middle between left and right, and she took everybody, you know, with her. Yeah. That's a magic moment, you know. It's something, and that's something we're already like trying for years and years and years to kind of be right on that line.
That balance.
But if you're a bit too much to the left,
you lose the guys on the right.
you're not left enough for the left, and you're too left for the right.
Yeah.
If you're a bit too much to the right, you're not right enough for the right, so it's a very dangerous line to be on. Yeah. But hey, we like danger, don't we?
I have one final question before we wrap things up. I just want to know what your impression on this year's songs in Rotterdam are. Is there anyone that stand out to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think France stands out. Yeah. I like her performance. It's a beautiful song. Well, of course, we're from Belgium, so we have like, you know, the cool thing about Belgium is we combine a French and a Germanic culture. You know, we have
Yeah.
both in one country, so we connect very well to French music, but also to American. You know, like all kinds of music,
Yeah.
which kind of is really an advantage, I think. So
Mm.
we connect to that kind of French chanson. You know, like
Mm.
we like it. I like Russia, and it's kind of like, you know, kind of Russian hip hop combined with some kind of like, you know, strange chorus.
Yeah.
I like that. I think Bulgaria is not bad. It's very very Billie Eilish, but it's nicely done.
Mm.
I think there's a couple of songs that are heavy contenders, like I think Switzerland is, and
Yeah.
probably Norway as well. Less our cup of tea, but hey, that is not important in this kind of competition. You know,
Yeah.
it's not about what we feel. But for us, yeah, for me, I think France is very it's very good. I heard it once and I was singing it, you know, like for days. Voila.
Yeah.
It's
It's an earworm. It sticks in your ear.
Last year, that was actually the only song last year that did that to me was Italy. Last year, Italy, that song also kind of, I heard it once, and that chorus line, it stayed in my head for months actually. So, and in a competition like this, catchiness is important.
Very.
But yeah, I think it's a good competition. It's very, there's a lot of variety, which is the reason why we like the festival. We like this kind of contrast because between all these styles and all these different visions and different cultures, and that's the nice thing about the Eurovision contest anyway. You know?
Yeah. And it brings us all together in a nice way.
Yeah, definitely. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing is, Rotterdam is only 1 hour from where we live. That's a pity. You know? It would have been nicer if it would have been in Spectre in Oslo or something.
Yeah.
We go there by bus.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
We could actually take our bike and you know, ride our bike to Rotterdam. That's kind of like, but hey, Rotterdam is a great town. You know, like don't get us wrong. We like Rotterdam, but we've been there a lot. You know, so it's could have been. I would. Where didn't we go yet? Kiev. We never played. No, we did play in Kiev. Of course we did. No, where did we play? Azerbaijan. We didn't play. So next year we go to Azerbaijan.
Baku next year then. Listen, I'm so looking forward to follow your trip to Rotterdam and to see everything that you do. I know my time is up. It was up a while ago, so we better wrap things up.
No, you still have time. You know, like our time is getting, like, you know,
especially mine. The second year in a row, I'm the oldest contestant.
Is it? Is it?
And you, the second oldest. And
is it? No.
So, yeah, we're the top 3 already.
And where did you read that?
You can read it on YouTube.
Oh, really? We're the oldest. Okay, we won already in that.
The artist by age, and I'm number 1, you're number 2, you're number 3.
Oh, wow.
All right.
This year's record holders.
Hey, luckily we didn't go to the 60s, you know, like
with the walking chairs in front of you.
To the 60s. Whoa, whoa.
Once again, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the very best of luck with your preparations for Rotterdam, and I see you soon.
See you soon, man.
Okay.
Oh,
Bye-bye.